Everybody, Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. It is Thursday here on the program. You know what that means? We got a lot to get into today. Last night, AEW Dynamite. Holy smokes, was there some great wrestling on that show. If you're a fan of wrestling and violence, I got the show for you. We'll talk about that here today. Full review of Dynamite. More tonight on the Bryan and Vinny Show, only for subscribers. WrestlingObserver.com, video.f4wonline.com. Sometimes I review the shows here on this show or elsewhere. Oh, I can't believe they didn't talk about. I got a limited amount of time on national radio. But tonight on the podcast, we do not have limited time. So much more detail, obviously, on the Bryan and Vinny Show. But I will go over all of the main stories on the program here today. We've also got the NXT ratings from this past Tuesday night. NXT did not do as well as Raw did. Raw had a huge number for their go-home show. NXT did what it normally does. We'll tell you about that. And also, we have the full lineup for the Stand and Deliver show. The full lineup for Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania. And obviously, there's a big SmackDown tomorrow night with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And this poor geek Ricochet will be facing Humberto and Angel in a match he asked for, a three-way facing an established tag team. That's coming up tomorrow. We've also got notes on Nick Khan. He talked a lot about WWE, and of course, it's Nick Khan talking about WWE, so we can tell you about that. Got a new WWE scripted series that's coming out. And what an irony. What an irony. We'll tell you about that later on. And so much more. Mike Sempervive joins us after the break. Back in a moment, everybody. Observer Live.
Hey guys, it's Denise. I got to chat with Rhino and he played my Q&A game. Here are some highlights from that. Question number 1. Besides yourself, who has the best spear in wrestling?
I'd say Roman Reigns.
Nice. Question number 2. Or Edge. Yeah, it's a good one too. Question number 2. Who's been the best and worst person to take the gore?
Oh, geez. The best one. Here's another thing. If there's an independent show near you or not too far from you and you're on the fence of going, go. Because it was up in Cadillac, Michigan, a wrestler by the name of Game Boy. And there's video out there. If you can find it, YouTube, Rhino Gore's Game Boy. It is, and then I would say the second one would be The Rock. Yeah. So, I mean, there's been so many people, but the worst would probably be Sandman. I'd have to bring it though, but he would end up, he was the worst at taking the pile drivers off the ring apron, but probably the worst. I don't think they have a choice, you know?
Yeah, that's it, like you're going down.
Right. So,
question number 3, who came up with the Rhino name and did you like it from the start?
Well, there's been a lot of people that take credit for it, but I would have to say Reckless Youth. Because he told, we're all in Detroit and the lights were out. But D'Lo actually came over and told me, you know, and then I ended up using it at Al Snow's. But Reckless was the first one, and he was out from this area of Philly and stuff. I'm actually in Philly right now doing a media day, getting ready for the taping. So, but but I still live in Michigan, so south of Detroit. But yeah, so I would say Reckless Youth. So,
question number 4, who's your favorite person to travel with?
You know what? Believe it or not, there's this wrestler. He trained at Scott's school. His name's Nate Bach, and he's 27. He's really good in the ring. At first, he was, you know, I would just pull my hair out. You know, it's like, geez, you know, like I own a marina in Michigan, so that's what I do when I'm not wrestling. I own and operate and manage. So, like, he'd help me out, and I would, you know, give him knowledge. I would tell him, you know, road stories, this or that, or you know. And sometimes people are set on the gimmick. It's just like let things come natural. You know, you got to get on the road. You got to work. So I took him under my wing, and like sometimes like he would question me, right? I'm like, why are you questioning me? And then I would tell him how I would travel with Sabu, and I wouldn't say a word. He would just talk and tell stories and business and ECW ran and what he learned from his uncle, the Sheik, you know, and I just listen. I go, I never question him.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So we had some bloke. He's actually, I don't know. It's hard to tell with these Twitch geeks whether they're trolls or geeks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, whether they're being ignorant to be ignorant, or whether they're ignorant in
some people just say
sense.
such stupid things that it's like they can't possibly be serious. But then there's such a consistency to their stupidity that then you start thinking, is he actually this dumb? So anyway, one of these guys goes, aren't there 80,000 tickets out both nights for WrestleMania? 80,000?
Say what now?
Bruh, here's the numbers for WrestleMania right now. Night one, and by the way, do I need to throw out that my original prediction for WrestleMania was 55,000 both nights? Do I need to remind everybody of that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, night one...
Being you, yeah, you do.
Night one is at 58,114. And night two is at 57,088.
So you're wrong, basically.
No, I'm actually dead on because...
No, you're not. You're wrong.
Don't get into this semantics,
You're generally
dude.
correct.
Everybody was talking about how this... Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but people were very confident that this was going to do 80,000 both nights. And I said, brother, it ain't going to do 80,000 both nights because I ain't the only one who's not flying down there because I'm not doing 2 nights in a row. And here we are, 58,000 for night one and 57,000 for night two. Now, as I said at the beginning, yes, if you're running a business, then should we do some math here? I'll have to use a calculator because I'm not very good at it. 58,000 plus 57,000. They've sold 115,000 tickets. So, in fact, this is the most tickets ever sold, ever, for WrestleMania. So, yeah, if you want to look at it from that perspective, that's great. But what they have also done is, it is true, unless you are one of those people that you can't possibly believe, that there's 58 or whatever thousand the first night, and a completely different 57,000 on night two, and nobody is going to both shows. I think we all know deep down that what has actually happened here is, as opposed to having 80 to 85,000 people flying in for WrestleMania, now we've got 55,000 people flying in for WrestleMania. So you've actually, what you've done here is, in terms of like people that are interested in going and traveling to Mania, there's actually less here than there's been in forever, but you have successfully sold more tickets than you've ever sold, because the fewer number of people that want to go are buying tickets for 2 nights. That's what's happened here. So, from a business perspective, you can look at this however you want. Obviously, the way WWE is looking at it is the short term. We sold 115,000 tickets. Way to go. We've broken all of our records. We can tout it on social media. It's the most attended WrestleMania, or however they're going to put it, or whatever. And, of course, you know, they'll inflate that to 130,000 tickets sold. But the fact of the matter is, this is the short-term thinking. The long-term thinking would be, we really want to move from 80,000 people willing to travel to 55? Whatever. That's where we're at.
You're right, but you're right and you're wrong. I think there's
no. Actually, I'm right and I'm right. Whichever one you think is the way to look at it is you're right or wrong. But they're both true. There's less people going, but they've made more money and sold more tickets.
But
so it's up to you to decide which is better.
But they've been looking at this. But you say it's short term. They have been looking at this for a long time, and they did jump ahead of everybody by going to 2 nights. And you can debate that as a fan and as a viewer, whether it is a good production, whether it gives you your time's worth, all that sort of stuff. But the flip side of that is it's a lot easier to contract it to this point than it is to expand. And we'll find out with Los Angeles next year being a really good example of that. With having The Rock there, you only need to have it. Okay, if that happens, The Rock and Roman Reigns, you only really need to have one night. And to me, you would want to maximize that, but they probably won't. They're going to go with multiple nights because this is what their plan has been. And it is not solely WWE that's done this. We brought it up many times. This is the way a lot of these events this is the way that they've gone, and they want to dominate every night. So you're right. It has shrunk. But the fact is that number was probably going to shrink and contract a little bit anyway. So now you have given the people, if you look at this from a marketing point of view, the ability to show up any night and see WrestleMania, and the ability to show up any day and see multiple WWE things happening. So it's a catch. Again, I see how they want to extract as much money as possible out of the most amount of people, and that's what they're doing right now. And it's a lot easier for them to shrink this back to one night if they want to, as opposed to running two nights. Look, they could lose their minds and go 3 nights at some point if they think it's going to make business and financial sense. And God knows, maybe they will, because they still have about 60,000 people that have flooded that area for WrestleMania, and that's what they're there for. So, I don't know.
Well, all I know is they got 57 and 58, and next year, I mean, I don't think they're going to have Stone Cold Steve Austin. I still don't think they're going to have The Rock. So, what are we going to have next year? Johnny Knoxville comes back. What else? I mean, you look at these cards, and what do they do to get these 57 and 58? We got Becky and Bianca. So I'm sure next year their big match is going to be Becky and Ronda. They're hoping that's going to be a big one. We've got Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, and obviously next year they want Roman Reigns and The Rock, which I don't think is going to happen, but they think it's going to happen. So, what else do we got next year? We got Omos, the giant Omos. The undefeated Omos against somebody. Omos and Brock Lesnar. Is that going to be their big match next year? Edge has already come back. We've got Pat McAfee. Maybe he can come out of the booth again. Yeah, we got Cody, who they're not even announcing. And that's on night 1. But anyway, here are the lineups. Night 1, Becky and Bianca. Rey and Dominic versus Miz and Logan Paul. Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin. Usos versus Nakamura and Boogs. New Day versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Seth Rollins versus Cody. And Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. And apparently, as always, the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. Kevin Owens and Ronda Rousey both believe they are the main event of WrestleMania. So we'll see what happens on Saturday night. Sunday, we got Zelina.
They have multiple main events, don't they? I heard this story with Ronda being told she was in the main event. I mean, don't they look at their shows as having like 3 main events on each
Well,
night?
I think if they consider Ronda Rousey like the Kiss Demon, who signed a contract that he would always be in the main event.
Exactly.
So they put him on second and said they called it a main event even though it was on second on the card. Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to. But I'm pretty sure that Kevin Owens and Ronda Rousey both believe that they are going on last.
Well, I think you tell Ronda Rousey anything, and then she can get angry about it later on down the line. But yeah, closing the show, if it's not Steve Austin in Texas, I mean, it's, well, dumb.
We have got Zelina and Carmella versus Sasha and Naomi versus Rhea and Liv versus Natty and Shayna. This is night 2. Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn then goes. Pat McAfee, Austin Theory. By the way, no Vince. So unless they do something on Friday, which they could do because Pat McAfee is, of course, the commentator there. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. But he was always supposed to be there, so we shall see. RK Bro, Street Profits, Alpha Academy. Triple threat for the tag titles. Edge and AJ. Bobby Lashley and Omos. And Lesnar and Roman Reigns for the Universal title. So that's the lineup.
I hope Shane McMahon's music hits first when Seth goes out there. I really do. I hope he comes dancing out there. And then everybody loses their mind. And then Cody comes out and then hits him with a sledgehammer or whatever it is Cody's going to do.
We also have the NXT show, pre-show, Toxic Attraction versus Raquel and Dakota. Carmelo, Santos Escobar, Solo Sikoa, Grayson Waller, Cameron Grimes for the North American title in a ladder match. Tommaso Ciampa and Tony D'Angelo in Ciampa's last match. Mandy Rose, Cora Jade, Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray four-way for the women's title. Imperium versus Creeds versus MSK for the tag titles. LA Knight versus Gunter. And Dolph Ziggler versus Braun Breaker. It's NXT at 9 a.m. Pacific. Have fun, everybody. Back in a moment. Observer Live.
Hey guys, it's Denise. I got to chat with Rhino and he played my Q&A game. Here are some highlights from that. Question number 5. What's your guilty pleasure snack?
Oh, geez. You know, I'd probably say ice cream or pizza. You know, I try to eat clean. I try not to eat fried stuff, you know, so I'd probably say Moose Tracks ice cream.
Question number 6. Craziest story you can tell us about the original ECW on air. I had to add the on-air part.
You know what? Believe it or not, I was married, and Sabu I traveled with. He was married, and we really didn't do much. But there, you know, some people did partake in taking prescription drugs or something, and I know that's not nothing to laugh about. But I'd have to carry people out of restaurants sometimes, yeah, because I was the biggest guy, and it's like, all right, one on one shoulder, dragging the other one behind. So, but those people are still with us today. And, you know, but a crazy story is, you know, because this is in WWE, you know, a lot of times we'd rent minivans, you know, and the minivans would come with tinted windows, right? You don't look too tough driving a minivan. But when you see 3 or 4 big dudes get out of a minivan, you know, like say if you go to take a parking spot or you accidentally cut someone off, because a lot of us, we wouldn't, you know, go around bullying people, you know, and they drive by, you know, flip you off, and you just happen to get out at the same place, and they're like, oh shit. Like,
you're like, probably,
oh boy, we didn't see all those big dudes. We just, yeah, we just see some tinted windows, and it's like, you know, we're not going to do anything, you know, but yeah, it was pretty funny, you know, because you just think soccer moms, you know, people give minivans a bad name, but they're great to travel in. You just throw all your luggage, you got enough room to, you know, spread out. I mean, you got some guys that I'm 6 foot, but you got some guys that are, you know, 350, 6'4", 6'5", you know, so they need some leg room.
That's so funny. Question number 7. Is there someone you never got to wrestle that you always wanted to?
You know what? I've been in the ring with guys like Ric Flair to The Rock. You know, I've just been blessed to be in there with so many people. I just, I wouldn't mind wrestling Kevin Owens. For some reason, his name popped up. I don't know if it's because I'm in Philly, you know, and I don't know why, you know, just, you know, maybe a match at the arena, you know, Kevin Owens and I. You know,
that would be fantastic.
I want to try it for 5 more years. So, you know, maybe that'll be towards the end.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live, Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. NXT Tuesday, 626,000 viewers, down slightly from last week. Still the best audience for the show since January 11. It was a build to stand and deliver .14 in 18 to 49, which is about what it's been doing. That's good, by the way, for NXT. As compared to 2021, down 4.3% in overall viewers, down 33% at 18 to 49. I think we're comparing a year-to-year where they were going head-to-head with Dynamite. They're doing worse. Remember when they got rid of Hunter? Remember that?
I do.
Remember they got rid of that guy and they rebranded it and they made it all colorful?
Yeah.
And they came up with a bunch of stupid gimmicks and everything like that? And now it's doing much worse.
Well,
That's weird. And it's not even head-to-head anymore. Think about that.
you think it's got a better theme, though, with Wale, or... No?
It's better
Any
than Wild and
redeeming
Young.
value?
I'll tell you that much.
Well, yeah, that's true.
During a podcast appearance, Nick Khan was asked about and addressed complaints from wrestlers that have left the company, citing negative experiences and preferential treatment. Speaking on the Town podcast, Khan said, "Everyone is treated humanely." Well, that's good. Because, I don't like to hear about places that treat people inhumanely. Yeah. But that's what he said.
My God.
These are exact quotes. Everyone is treated humanely.
Humanely.
And he adds, they deserve to be treated that way.
We don't stick them in the bell tower anymore.
I'm sure someone's going to get really mad at me for this, but I'm actually reading. These are the words that Nick Khan said. So, I don't know why you would get mad at me, but let me read that again.
Nick Khan's responses to wrestlers who say that Soylent Green is people.
He said, this is a direct quote, "Everyone is treated humanely and deserves to be treated that way."
Oh, no, God. And, I hope they actually turn that back and they really start treating wrestlers inhumanely so Sarah McLachlan can have a song and we can have a slow montage of sad WWE faces like Ricochet getting beat up in 105 seconds and just a whole line of those things. Just the hell with it. Humanely.
Well, may I continue?
Humanely. Sure.
He compared their situation to when the NBA's LA Lakers had superstars Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal at the same time, noting that they weren't treated the same as some of their other teammates. Was Shaq treated better than any other player other than Kobe? Said Nick Khan. Yeah, that's the way it is. He then brought up Will Smith was not removed from the Oscars following his slap of Chris Rock, partially because he was a major star. Well, that's a very complicated story, because according to the Academy, they asked him to leave and he refused. So they didn't make him. Then, of course, there are others that say they actually never asked him to leave, officially.
Yes, that's...
You unofficially asked him to leave? Listen, in an unofficial capacity, could you leave after slapping that guy? No? All right. Well, anyway, we got a Best Actor award for you, so stick around. Anyway.
Didn't he co-produce the show, too?
It said, he says here, was Shaq treated... Oh, yeah, I already read that. It's the same with us. It is a meritocracy. If you're at the top of the card, maybe you have a bigger dressing room than someone at the bottom of the card. Everyone has the same opportunity to earn their way there, he said. He also said the company is open for business when asked about a potential sale. It's not like I've been saying that for like a year and everybody thought I was an idiot.
Oh, no,
they're open
stop.
for business.
Everybody's been saying that old
They're
stuff.
open for business.
Everybody's been saying it. Come on.
He says they're a treasure trove of IP.
Oh, God.
Well, they are. That's true.
That is true. There's some speak there.
He said the Vince McMahon Netflix docuseries is set to debut in 2023. WWE is for the masses, he said, and the company can never lose sight of that.
Wu-Tang for the children.
He said this publicly, the average viewer is someone that grew up in the 80s or 90s and went to public school because of the availability or lack thereof of cable in many parts of the country. What? What does that mean? Khan talked about how he came to WWE, which
Is
stemmed
that
from...
his nice way to say demographic is they're old and broke, which used to be the whole stereotype of wrestling fans, is they were
Well, he
they may
doesn't
not have
necessarily...
been old, but they were broke.
He's not necessarily saying they're broke today. They were broke then.
Simple as public
Weren't we
school
all?
kids.
Didn't we all grow up broke? Nick Khan?
Yeah, you
I know
didn't
Vince
have the,
did.
You didn't have the finger
He
toe
grew up
shoes back
poorer
then.
than...
None.
He was poorer than dirt. Which is very poor. Although dirt is rich in nutrients, now that I think about it. But anyway, that's a story here. Listen, I'm sure he's a great guy. I actually have nothing against Nick Khan. But you know what this is? This company is being permeated with people that know nothing about wrestling. That's what we've got here. And maybe we're going to find out. Let's be honest here. Maybe we're going to find out Because historically, this has certainly been the case, that you don't need to know anything about wrestling to run a wrestling company. We might find that out. Maybe times have changed.
Because it's always worked out really, really well, right?
Yes.
One thing he said that was absolutely right that I don't know if anybody wants to flex about, and I'm sure somebody's in their feelings about it, is the whole thing of the meritocracy and all. That's all true. That's all fine. That's all fair. And to have a bunch of stars, you want to pack your team with stars at the expense of maybe, the other role players on the team don't get to shine, that's all fair. The whole thing is the opportunity to succeed, because in sports, if somebody started to outshoot Kobe and somebody started to run up and down the floor, look, the Showtime Lakers are a good example of this, and the whole deal on HBO right now, the Winning Time documentary, whatever the hell you want to call it, the movie, the miniseries that's taking place, where Norm Nixon was an all-star guard for the Lakers. But then Magic got there, and then it wasn't really long after that Norm Nixon was gone. But they put him in the same backcourt. They wanted him to see who's going to be that guy, who's going to be there with Kareem, who would be Shaq in that equation. And they really did give them an opportunity to go out there and win the job. And that's what WWE doesn't do. And that's where all that BS that he talks about, all that business stuff it's business. Makes perfect sense. Even to a wrestling fan, if it doesn't tickle your wrestling sense, a lot of what Nick Khan does, as far as if you're looking at this from a WWE point of view, a lot of what Nick Khan says makes a lot of sense.
Hey, do you know
there is pissing on you and thinking that it's raining because the people on the outside don't see why that's all BS in what he said, and look at the show from an ignorant point of view, just an ignorant, not knowing point of view, and believe what he's saying, and that's the thing that we all know is a crock of crap, and the thing that really hurts them.
Do you know that they let Tony Storm go?
Walk
and
away.
Bryan Danielson, and John Moxley, Keith Lee.
What? Keep going.
You want me to go on? But you know what I could not help but notice?
What?
Well, yesterday we read an article where the one guy whose name I've forgotten, God bless him.
That dude?
Sure, he's a nice guy as well.
Bruh.
About how we don't need any wrestlers. We need to get these young athletes straight out of college on our NIL deals because this business is easy. We can teach it to anybody. You just have to be able to do a flip. We can teach you how to be a great worker. So anyway, I can't help but notice I read that article yesterday, and then I read this article today. WWE is producing a new scripted series based on a fictional pro wrestling promotion for NBC Universal. It was announced today WWE and Universal Content Productions have partnered together for a drama series called Pinned. Here is the description of the show. An adrenalized, I'm going to try and read this because this is a lot of words. An adrenalized upstairs, downstairs soap that gives a behind-the-scenes look at a fictional wrestling promotion.
Time out.
Hold
time
on,
out,
no,
time
let me
out.
finish this.
No.
I got to mute you. I can't do this twice. An adrenalized upstairs, downstairs soap that gives a behind-the-scenes look at a fictional wrestling promotion and the unforgettable characters that populate it. Pinned offers a front row seat into the eccentric wrestling culture and the mayhem that exists between the locker room and the boardroom. God, that was excruciating. Go ahead.
Upstairs, Downstairs was a show from the 70s. The 70s that was played on PBS.
Well, they didn't capitalize upstairs, downstairs, so that's a term, Mike.
Okay. I thought, look, with the way that they, to this day, reference things from the 80s to their fans as if their fans, most of them have any idea of what the hell they're talking about, is something. So I thought that was right in line with some of their thinking. But, I mean, are you surprised? Talk about controlling your narrative.
Actually, yeah, I'm very surprised that they're
Why?
doing
For WWE,
a scripted series about pro wrestling?
Dude, right up their alley. This is where they're at in this day and age. And you know what they'll be able to say, Brian, too, when everybody comes to the production and they roll this show out and everything. And heaven forbid, God knows if it's successful and lasts more than one season, let alone 3 episodes before it gets canceled. The crazy part about this is the fact that they will now take this and look and go, this is what wrestling, this is the fake wrestling, this is what we do for real. Where all these other people in independent wrestling, the way that people actually come up and become professional wrestlers, they are going to further teach the public that, no, all you need to do is go to college, be somewhat of an athlete, we'll give you an NIL deal, and then that's how you get into wrestling. It's such a great bastardization and another controlling
All right.
how they do things.
To the break, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com.
I know it was killing you that last segment there, but bottom line, you know when WWE used to say they took everything out of the smoke-filled buildings and all that stuff, and it was all BS? It's what they're going to do with this show, even if it's mildly successful, much like Tough Enough, where this is just another marketing campaign and how they position themselves and continue to look at things, and wrestling fans are going to hate it, but I'm not surprised about it at all. Not at all.
Bro.
And the more, I don't know why you're so surprised about this. Really, Vince is look, he is, again, anything that he used to do, all that stuff's gone now.
Why am I surprised?
Yeah.
Because, I got a great idea for a scripted program involving professional wrestling. It's actually two programs. It's called Raw and SmackDown.
Oh, stop. I know.
All
Look,
this
we're not
guy
gonna
does
argue that
is talk
stuff,
about
but-
how we ain't pro wrestling. We don't do pro wrestling. We don't want pro wrestlers. We don't want... Now he's going to do a show about pro wrestling? Well, I got a pro wrestling show for you.
He's doing a parody of pro wrestling now, and that's not going to stop. Like, you wanting him to make Raw and SmackDown and make it, those shows are what they are, and this is the vision that they've had for them, and this is the way it's continued to go. Whether everybody else is kicking or screaming, or whether we talk about it every day on the show or not, that's what they're going to do. So it doesn't surprise me with some of the other moves that they've made outside of the wrestling, outside of what they should be looking at. It was the in-ring product and those shows solely, and I see what they've done and some of the other ventures they've gotten into and how they play wrestling, how they play their product in other places, and I'm not surprised about this at all. Why should you be? I really don't.
Well,
I don't
I'll
know.
explain it one more time, then I'm going to talk about Dynamite. Because the guy's done everything in his power to distance himself from pro wrestling. Literally, the only thing he has not done is take the word wrestle out of WrestleMania. And now he's going to do a scripted program about pro wrestling.
Brian, if
yes,
he's
I
pimped
find that
everything else,
very
then
ironic.
Why would he not whore this? If
Why
he's
are you
pimped
yelling
out
at me?
the
You asked me
product?
why I thought it was weird. I told you.
Because it's like, if he's pimped out the product for everything else, you say he's tried to distance himself and he's used it to wave it around. Why are you surprised
Yeah,
he's
so
doing
do a
it
cop
here?
show or something. Do a show about, I don't know,
Bodybuilding? We tried that
bodybuilding,
already.
whatever.
We did that one.
But, bro, if you want to do something about pro wrestling, then how about you do a pro wrestling show that I have to watch every week? Because I'm sick of, dude, this...
You're acting like you gotta watch this new show. Or
I'm
do
not going to
you?
watch this new show. You kidding me? But I'll tell you what I did watch, because I got to do this Dynamite report.
What if they call it New Show 2.0? Then all of a sudden you'll want to see it again.
How much caffeine did you have today, brother? A lot?
I gotta
Did you
bring
go
the
back
energy
to
up
get
for
another
the show.
MRI and they shot you up with some fentanyl or something?
That's...
Now, can we do this Dynamite report?
Well, you can't dab on the Molly anymore because of that. It's
This
terrible,
show
isn't
was
it?
full of excellent wrestling matches. CM Punk and Max Caster. Very good match. Although, on this show, it was kind of low on the very good match scale because there were so many other great matches. But they had a good match. They gave Max Caster a lot. CM Punk sold, got him with the Anaconda Vice, submitted him. And then Tony Schiavone gets in the ring for the WWE promo. What did that mean when you went like this last week? Punk goes, we're not idiots. I want the championship. And I don't know who's going to be the champion, but whoever it is, I want a shot. And before my time here is over, I will be the champion. So he's next in line. We had a segment with MJF and FTR. They are clearly on their way to a breakup, but they didn't do this week. Nothing is rushed in this promotion, I've noticed. Including the Jay Lethal heel turn. Jay Lethal, John Moxley. Lethal's all upset that he's been losing the big ones. They have a really, really good match. John Moxley ends up pinning him with the Paradigm Shift DDT. Jay Lethal is so disgusted himself that when John Moxley offers a handshake, he almost doesn't give it to him. But he does, and then hangs his head in shame and walks out. We had a Marina Shafir video package. They're debuting her here on the main roster soon. FTR versus the Gun Club. Match was it's pretty good. FTR is excellent. Gun Club, and they can be carried to a good match. Billy tried to get involved. In the middle of the match, Wardlow showed up, starts beating up security guys, runs through about 24 security guys before they finally stop him from getting to MJF. MJF is screaming at him on commentary. There's a big kerfluffle. FTR wins with the big rig. MJF comes to celebrate, and FTR's furious at him. Dude, why do you have to do this to our friend? They like Wardlow. They were buddies. So they're furious, and finally cooler heads prevail. MJF raises their hands. But I don't know if there's going to be a big rig in MJF's future. Maybe they won't give us that one. But this crew is not long for the world. We had Jericho Appreciation Society. They were making fun of the fact that Ortiz, Santana, and Eddie Kingston were gone for good. And, of course, there they are behind a curtain. And we have a gigantic brawl. And at first, the three of them beat the hell out of the Jericho Appreciation Society. But then finally, old Jake Hager shows up. He runs roughshod. They grab the bat. They absolutely beat the hell out of these guys. And so once again, Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz are left laying. We had Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling backstage. They asked, who's going to be number 30? Mark Sterling says, it's going to be the librarian, Leva Bates. Even Jade Cargill cannot stand for this. She says, get the hell out of here. Who's number 30 really going to be? And Mark Sterling sheepishly responds, Marina Shafir. He's not confident. But Jade's confident. She says, get her out of here. So that's going to be apparently number 30. Jade Cargill and Marina Shafir. All right. Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta was the most glorious violence I've seen in quite some time. Golly. Bryan Danielson, I think he saw what Wheeler Yuta was wearing for tights, and he was like, this guy's going to suffer. And boy, he beat the absolute piss out of this poor guy. He pummeled him. He smashed him. Then Wheeler Yuta makes a comeback, and the place goes absolutely nuts for Wheeler Yuta's comeback. Danielson cuts him off again. He goes to stomp his head in. Wheeler spits the most disgusting. Like, even Bret Hart was envious of this loogie that got spit on Bryan Danielson. It's just all down his face. And Danielson, covered in drool, just stomps the hell out of this guy, puts him in the yes lock, pulls out his nostrils and submits him. Golly, this guy deserves to be in the Blackpool Combat Club for this beating. We had the Undisputed Championship celebration, even though they're not champions. They do their celebration. Out comes, first we had, who came out first? Hangman. And then he runs wild on all three guys, but then they overwhelm him. Then we have, let's see, Luchasaurus and Christian Cage come out, and they beat up the heels. And at the end of the day, the babyfaces get all of their belts back. So we're undoubtedly doing another Adam Cole versus Hangman Page match, and Red Dragon will be getting the shot against Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, which I suspect probably is going to end up being a title change, but I guess we'll see. We got that Thunder Rose interview everybody was waiting for last week. Remember, you guys were all angry she didn't get a chance to talk? You happy now? She says she's going to be the foundation of this company. What?
You didn't, thought it was underwhelming a little bit?
I wouldn't say it was underwhelming, but I mean, everybody was so angry she didn't get a chance to talk, and then she just did a generic promo, said she was going to be the champion, and then said she was the first ever Mexican-born champion, which, of course, is ridiculous. But I think that this is like one of those WWE deals where, like, Charlotte was undefeated on pay-per-view, even though she lost 85 times on TV. Thunder Rosa is the first woman in a major United States wrestling promotion who is a Mexican-born woman who has won a women's title.
Do you believe that it may be less of a case of a WWE speak sort of thing, and she just like kind of jumbled her words and misspoke?
Well, I'm sure she jumbled her words and misspoke, but that's what she is here. So, for those of you wondering.
Oh,
and
by the way,
just
to shoehorn this in here because I thought it was kind of random. All Japan Women, the classic women's promotion, speaking of women's wrestling, IWTV has picked up the entire back catalog of that, and they're going to be airing it. And so if you like women's wrestling, All Japan Women's, what Dave talks about and goes on rants about on these shows with Bryan, you'll get a chance to see some of that stuff now.
Then we had the debut of Toni Storm in a Owen Hart Foundation tournament qualifier. And this place absolutely lost it for Toni Storm. And then they did not care one bit about her match with the Bunny because I think they'd seen a lot of great matches and they had zero. There wasn't one person. If the Bunny's family were there, they didn't think she was going to win. So they just watched them do their match and then cheered when she won. And she cried because she couldn't believe what a reaction she got after they didn't do anything with her in WWE. A broken record.
You said it right with Dave last night. They were just waiting for her to win. It really wasn't a referendum on the match. They popped for Toni Storm. They wanted to pop for her again in victory.
Then we had Andrade versus Darby Allin. This was in some ways perhaps more violent than that Bryan Danielson Wheeler Yuta match. Andrade is now legitimately about 255 pounds.
Violent at the buffet.
This guy is enormous, and Darby is probably shoot my size.
Eating like he's got that kind of money, and he does.
And they had a fight, and Andrade destroyed him, and Darby made these striking comebacks. They had a striking battle with all these slaps. I hate these slaps, but they did it. And then finally at the end, we had Jose try to interfere. No respect this Jose gets, by the way. Not that he deserves a lot, necessarily, but he don't get none. They had the graphic for this match, and it says, Darby Allin with Sting versus Andrade with Jose. And they announced, coming up next, Darby versus Andrade. And the announcers go, and Sting's going to be there. Now, what about Jose? He's going to be there. You guys don't care about Jose? Well, anyway, Jose...
no way to Jose? Is that what they're saying?
Jose tried to interfere. Sting beat him up. Then Butcher and Blade attacked Sting. Darby laid them out with a dive. But, of course, in getting back into the ring, he was killed, DDT'd, and pinned by Andrade. And then we had the big schmaz with the Andrade... which, by the way, here in that front page report, it says AH. There's no H in this AFO anymore. It's AFO now. Hardy's gone. They beat up Darby and Sting. Private Party starts to run down the ramp, and everyone initially cheers because they're like, oh, they're coming to... Oh, wait a second. They're bad guys. And so they join in the fight. And then they hit the Hardys music, and then the place goes nuts again. Jeff Hardy and Matt come down. Twist of Fate, senton. They just killed poor Mark Quinn with the senton. He's dead, and the show went off the air with a happy ending. I like this show a lot. I had so much fun watching this show. Am I the only one?
No, it was a good show. It was a really good show. And
good.
the fact that when you have long, good matches like that, and they weren't like...
Check didn't clear, so I got to make sure.
They weren't obscenely long or anything like that, but it makes the other stuff that you do on the show stand out more. The other segments stand out more. And... it was just a really, really solid show. And how can you go wrong? I mean, Jon Moxley and Jay Lethal. I don't know if Lethal's going heel. I guess it depends on what they decide to do with Ring of Honor, because him saying, man, I got to get my mojo back, and then he goes again. That could play into some of this stuff too. But CM Punk, probably a good idea every single week. Darby Allin, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson. Find a way to start the show with those guys, because it really does make a difference, in my opinion, as far as the energy of the show goes.
Somebody's asking about Jeff Senton. Listen, I don't know anything about what's going on with Jeff Hardy and everything like that, but he's been doing this forever, and he's probably got some injuries. And if you guys recall, Randy Savage used to do that flying elbow, and he wouldn't touch you until he started hurting really bad. And then he landed on you with all of his might because he didn't want to land on the mat. So, you do a senton bomb, you're young, and 99% of you hits the mat. You get old, 100% of you hits the guy. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Right.
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago when he killed Isaiah Cassidy, I think it was, with a swanton, I made a tweet and said that Jeff Hardy kind of hit swanton bombs like a 40-pound bag of fertilizer falling off the top shelf at Home Depot. And seriously, watch some of his in slow motion and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And people responded that he was on the Edge and Christian Pod of Awesomeness and said he used to have a nice soft swanton, but sometime in 2018 or so, after hurting his shoulder, Jeff said, quote, "I had to start thinking about me," and now he kills people with them. He calls it a crouton bomb, I guess, because of the way he makes people crumble with it. And I guess one of the lines he had was, "I'm going to protect myself, and you, basically, you'll survive." Just maybe with broken ribs and a sternum.
Holy smokes. Well, there you go. Just
Don't
as I
take
thought.
It's
As a man who
say
used
no.
to do the senton bomb all the time.
Phew, that tailbone is, I guess, bad shape.
Well, I was a gymnast, and so actually the way I did it was a giant dive roll. So I would go up high in the air, and then I would basically roll out so my head hit the butt, so they didn't feel a thing, and I didn't feel a thing either because I rolled. But the way he did it was you go up and you just bash your whole body on the ground. No good.
Oh man, were you ever able to get in the ring? Did you ever do the deal where like Humberto does, where he kind of like slides through the first and second rope and does the headstand and never touches the ropes? Can you do that?
Slide in through do a headstand.
I'll send you the.
I need a video. I didn't do anything complicated. You kidding me? Hey, we're out of time. Get those WrestleMania cameos in, everybody. Now's your chance. I know you got buddies at your WrestleMania party. Oh, they'd pop if they got a cameo from me. F4W Online. Cameo. Birthdays. Whatever.
And all the news of the weekend on the site, WrestlingObserver.com.
Oh, yeah. We got a site, too, WrestlingObserver.com. Anyway, I got to go. Wrestling Observer Live.